You ever hear sirens echo across a lake in the dead of night? I mean real sirens, the kind that cut through the quiet like someone smashing a glass right over your head. That's how it started for me. Blue and red lights rippling across my lake, all that peace shattered in a heartbeat. And for a second, I honestly thought something awful had happened to one of the neighbors. But no, the real story? Way weirder than that. And a whole lot more infuriating. Because those cops? They weren't here for anybody but me. All because I lit a tiny campfire, just me, in the water, roasting a couple marshmallows, not bothering a soul. The fire was crackling easy, stars winking overhead, and suddenly, I'm standing there frozen on my own dock, watching two officers tromp down like I'm some career criminal. One of them calls out, "Sir, we got a report of an unauthorized fire and trespassing on HOA property." HOA property? I almost burst out laughing, right then and there, because let me tell you, the lake never was and never will be part of their precious HOA. But that night changed everything. What started as a quiet evening by the lake kicked off the kind of war that wears you down in your bones. A fight not just against a homeowners association, but against arrogance, entitlement, and this needs some folks have to control things that were never theirs in the first place. By the time I was done, the very people who'd called the cops on me wound up more embarrassed than a possum in a swimming pool. And man, they never saw it coming. But before I show you how I turned the whole mess around and finally proved, loud and clear, that they had zero authority over my lake, let me back up a sec. Because you got to see how deep this rabbit hole went and how hard folks will fight to keep a hold on power, even when that power's nothing but smoke and mirrors. So, a little backstory. 6 years before that circus with the sirens, I bought my own slice of peace. A patch of land with a cabin tucked between old pines, just enough room to breathe, and a lake so clear you could drink from it. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The air always smelled like cedar, water cold as mountain spring, and every sunrise turned the lake into a mirror. Perfect. On the far side, that's where they built the subdivision. Rows of copy-paste houses, beige fences, and, you guessed it, the almighty HOA. When the developers first rolled in, they wanted my shoreline. Offered to buy a piece, said they'd beautify it with walking trails, benches, whatever. I told them flat out, no thanks. That lake was family land, and I wasn't giving up a single inch. The look on their faces when I turned them down, well, you'd think I'd sunk their yacht or something. After that, I was marked. Some of their residents would jog past and wave, but a lot just glared. Real tight-lipped, sunglasses pulled down, all that. Didn't bother me. I didn't want to be part of their little club anyway. But you know how entitlement spreads, like an oil slick. Then came Carol. Carol with her neon sun hat, her oversized sunglasses, and a smile so fake it squeaked. "Hi there," she says. "I'm Carol, president of the Lakeside Meadows HOA. Just wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood." I bit my tongue and smiled, knowing good and well I wasn't in her hood, but hey, figured maybe she was just being polite. Yeah, that lasted about 5 minutes. Suddenly, Carol's pitching community harmony and consistent environmental standards, dropping hints that I should rip out my fence, put up signs, landscape the right way. I told her straight up, "Appreciate your concern, but my property isn't part of your HOA." Her eyes tightened, but she kept that smile locked in place. "Well, it would really help everyone if you could align with our guidelines." "That's nice," I said, "but my land's been private since before Lakeside Meadows existed." She laughed, fake as a $3 bill, and marched off. I knew that wasn't the end. Next thing I know, I'm seeing HOA member access only signs pop up near the trail by my dock. Somebody's tire tracks showed up on my private road to the water. One day, I spot a guy walking his dog right past my no trespassing sign. He's in the standard HOA uniform, polo tucked in his shorts, clipboard under his arm. "Hey," I called, "this is private property. You live over here." He gives me the up and down. "I'm with the HOA. This trail's open to residents. You can't just block access to the lake." "I can if it's my land," I told him. He snorted. "We'll see about that." That line, "we'll see about that," became the anthem of the next 6 months. Then came the letters. First, they were friendly reminders. Then, warnings. Demands, each stamped with that HOA letterhead, ordering me to remove my non-conforming fence, stop using their lake, and cease all open burns. Every accusation was bogus. My fence predated the subdivision. My dock was legal. The open burn was a barbecue with friends. But the last letter was the kicker. Failure to comply may result in legal action and fines assessed per HOA policy. That one made me laugh out loud. Per HOA policy? On land they don't own? I called the number and got Carol. Carol, it's Mark from across the lake, I said. Another one of your letters just showed up. Oh yes, she cooed. We're just keeping everything consistent around the lakefront. It's protocol. Protocol doesn't apply to me, I said. Your HOA ends at the property line. You've got no jurisdiction here. There was a beat, then her voice turned syrupy and sharp. Mark, we all share this lake. It's in everyone's best interest to cooperate. You don't want to be the difficult neighbor. Not difficult, I told her, just lawful. And I hung up. For a bit, it went quiet. But if you know anything about HOAs, you know silence means plotting. I started seeing HOA patrols walking by in neon vests, snapping pictures of my dock. One even pretended to birdwatch while scribbling notes right at the waterline. You're trespassing, I told him. He jumped like I caught him shoplifting. Oh, just watching birds. Good, I said, watch from your own side. He left, but I knew I hadn't seen the last of them. Then came that night, the night of the campfire. Early spring, the breeze just right, fire going, guitar on my knee. I was roasting marshmallows when I heard voices, sharp, smug, entitled. Sir, that's an open flame. You can't do that here. There was Carol, flanked by her board, clipboards up like they were shields. I said, Evening, Carol. You're trespassing. This is a common area, she barked. HOA prohibits open fires near the lake. I pointed to my property line sign. That's your land. This is mine. She huffed. You're endangering the community. Only thing in danger is your grasp of property law. I shot back. She sputtered. I'm calling the authorities. Go ahead, I said, thinking she was bluffing. She wasn't. 10 minutes later, the sirens hit. Cops on my dock, Carol standing behind them, all smug. The officer says, Sir, report of an illegal fire on HOA land. I handed him my ID, pointed to my mailbox. Check the county records, officer. I'm not in the HOA. He radios in. Carol's face is pure triumph. Until the officer comes back and says, Ma'am, this property's outside HOA boundaries. He's within his rights. Watching her deflate was almost worth the headache. That can't be right, she sputtered. We have lake jurisdiction. No, ma'am, the cop said. Unless you got a deed or county easement, you've got nothing here. I didn't say a word. Just watch her realize it was over. Well, for the night, anyway. But you know what? With folks like Carol, it's never really over. The next morning, there's a neon orange flyer taped to my gate. Notice of community violation. Fire safety breach. Signed, HOA Compliance Committee. You gotta admire the commitment to the bit. But instead of tossing it, I started a folder. Every letter, every photo, every bogus warning. Somewhere deep down, I knew this wasn't just a nuisance. It was harassment. A couple weeks go by, and the emails start. Now it's Environmental Standard Division. New faces, same threats. Unauthorized dock extension, unapproved shoreline changes, pollution from outdoor fires. Ridiculous. When they started taping notes to my door, I knew it was time to fight back. I called my cousin. She's a real estate attorney. Told her everything. The cops, the fake fines, the harassment. She said, Mark, this is classic boundary overreach. Get your deed, plat maps, titles. Let's shut this down. But before we could get to court, they tried one last stunt. I'm mowing the grass one weekend, and here comes the HOA posse. Clipboards, cameras, the whole parade. Sir, we're here for a property compliance inspection, one of them declares. I cut the mower. On whose authority? As members of the HOA. You step past that fence, and I call the sheriff. You have no authority here, and I have the title to prove it. He tries to smirk. If you have nothing to hide, you'll let us inspect. I have everything to protect. And you're trespassing. That shut him up. I told them, from now on, Send your questions through my lawyer. The fear in their eyes said it all. Bullies never expect you to stand up with facts. That night, I sat by the same fire pit and went through every scrap of paperwork, deeds, maps, survey documents. And what I found, the lake wasn't even listed on the HOA's deed. In fact, the county plat showed it as privately owned by me and a family trust on the other side. The HOA had zero claim. I printed everything, highlighted the key lines, put it all in a binder labeled Exhibit A. Next time they tried something, I'd be ready. Didn't have to wait long. A couple days later, I get a call from the county environmental agency. Mr. Reynolds, we received a complaint about illegal dumping on your shoreline. I nearly laughed in his ear. The inspector comes by, checks the water, the soil shrugs, looks clean. Whoever reported this was either mistaken or malicious. He grinned. You'd be surprised how many HOA complaints we get. Oh, I believe him. A few days after that, Carol showed up again, didn't even bother knocking, just stood at the fence and shouted, "Mark, we need to talk." I went outside, kept my cool. She waved papers. We're filing an injunction. You're endangering wildlife and being disruptive. I raised an eyebrow. By lighting a marshmallow on my land? She snapped. It's your refusal to cooperate. Cooperate? Or obey an HOA I don't belong to? She faltered. It's for the good of the community. Carol, I said, you've trespassed, harassed, and lied. You're crossing the line, legally and morally. She stared at the houses, her voice tight. You'll regret this, Mark. Then she stormed off. But when she tried to drag me to court, it blew up in her face. The county judge didn't just reject their claim of shared lake jurisdiction. He sanctioned the HOA for wasting time. Turns out, the lake's exclusion had been locked in since the original subdivision, decades ago. The judge wrote, and I quote, "The HOA has no legal jurisdiction or administrative rights over the property in question. Continued interference may be considered harassment." I stuck a copy of that ruling on the community bulletin board for everyone to see. The fallout was fast and brutal. Board members quit. Neighbors started grumbling about dues and bogus fines. Carol disappeared, her strut replaced with nervous glances and a blank stare at the lake she never owned. It should have felt like revenge, but really, it felt like justice finally caught up. A reporter called, wanting the scoop on the whole mess. Turns out my HOA wasn't the only one in the county with a taste for overreach. When the article hit, it didn't just talk about my lake, it blew the lid off their intimidation tactics, their sketchy bookkeeping, the whole rotten culture. Local HOA faces backlash for targeting non-member property owner. The headlines spread faster than wildfire. Suddenly, residents were questioning everything. Monthly dues, board elections, even the existence of the HOA itself. Apologies started trickling in. One guy, a father of two, stopped by with his fishing pole. Asked if he could use my shoreline, just for a while. I nodded. As long as you respect the line. The lake's big enough for everyone. He grinned. Wish we'd started like this. Yeah, me too. Most of the HOA folks weren't bad, just caught in a system that rewards control and punishes individuality. It took a fiasco to break the spell. Summer rolled in. The lake came alive. Kids swimming, laughter echoing across the water, and for the first time, I didn't feel like a stranger on my own land. Every time I passed that fire pit, I felt a quiet victory, not gloating, just satisfied. I'd stood my ground without turning cruel. Then, right before fall, Carol showed up at the fence. She looked smaller somehow, no clipboard, just a basket of cookies. Her whole posture changed. Didn't expect to see you again, I said. She smiled soft. I just wanted to say sorry, not just for the HOA, but for everything. I let power get to my head. I thought I was protecting the community, but I was just controlling it. She said the board was dissolving. Most folks didn't even want to keep the HOA going. Turns out, when people stop fearing the rules, they stop needing rulers. We watched the sunset together. Just two people, not enemies anymore. By winter, the HOA was officially gone. The subdivision became a voluntary community. No dues, no threats, just neighbors. That spring, I hosted a campfire for both sides of the lake. Nothing fancy, just hot dogs, music, laughter. Someone asked if I'd ever sell the place. I shook my head. This isn't just land, it's a story. And I'm not done living it yet. As the last embers faded, I sat by the water, peace finally real again. The lesson? People can steal your time, your comfort, your reputation, but they can't steal the truth. When the truth stands its ground, no fake authority can bury it for long. Looking back, it wasn't the courtroom win or the HOA collapse that mattered most. It was learning what peace really means. Not the absence of conflict, but refusing to give into it. If anyone ever asks if I regret lighting that first campfire, the one that started it all, I tell them no. That fire burned through lies and control, right down to the truth. You can't own what was never yours. Not land, not people, not power. These days, I still light a campfire by that same lake. Sometimes alone, sometimes with friends. And every time I see those flames flicker across the water, I remember I didn't let fear win. So if you've ever been bullied or had someone try to shrink you with rules and titles, let this be your reminder. You don't need permission to stand up for what's right. Just courage. In the end, freedom outlasts every fake authority. Every story like this deserves to be told, because real justice, the kind that humbles the powerful, always starts with one small spark. Now, tell me, where do you draw the line between control and community? Drop your story or your take in the comments. Let's talk about what justice really means, because every time we speak up, that spark gets brighter.